Howdy y'all, welcome to my watercolor for noobs video. This is catered mostly towards super duper beginners who have no idea what the fuck a watercolor even is, because if you have any idea what watercolor even is, you will know that I'm talking bullshit. For this video, I'm going to be using Prang Watercolor, which is something that I've recommended before in my videos for anyone who's just starting out watercolor and is not too comfortable with making bold colors on their paper. It would be fucking stupid of me to use any other watercolor than this, because it would be dumb for me to show you techniques that you can only do on fucking expensive watercolor and not have it be able to do on these, so I'll be using this. This is just a block of wood for decoration. When it comes to watercolor paper, you just kind of have to get something that can handle watercolor, but if you actually want to go into it, then I would recommend Canson Mixed Media. It's used for acrylic, watercolor, pens, and pencil. Most watercolor paper will be very expensive, but this one is actually one of the most affordable ones when it comes to handling watercolor and shit like that. Despite saying that, I'm gonna be doing most of the fucking demos in this Daiso Sketchbook paper because, you know, even though the other one is cheap, quote quote cheap, it's still pretty fucking expensive to me. So $1.50. What you need is, you know, for the moment, is to just kind of get paper that could handle multiple washes of watercolor. One of the things you don't want to use is printer paper, because if you go over printer paper multiple times with water, it will start flaking, and that fucking sucks. For a brush, this is what I fucking use. It's just a water brush. You fill the water in here, and then when you squeeze it, the water comes out here, because, you know, fuck traditional brushes. Who has time for 2 fucking cups of water? Who has time for that? Nobody. That's why I use this one. Sometimes if I feel like a cool kid, you know, want to bring out the actual watercolor shit, I use this. Look at this shit. It doesn't even have a fucking brand. I got it from Daiso. I rarely use this brush though. Everything I do, I just do with this shit. One of these days I will actually go into the details about watercolor paper, but if your paper can handle something like this, it should be okay for what we're doing today. Oh yeah, by the way, this brush I use specifically is Pentel. I don't think I've tried much other watercolor brushes, but you know, this one does okay. If you don't have a water brush, you can use a normal brush, and you need 2 cups of water. One is for when you wash your brush, and the other one is when you dip the brush into water to change the color, because you don't want fucking poop water in your color, do you? First of all, when you need to draw something, you need to kind of figure out what you're gonna line it with, either with multi-liner, some fucking random ass pen, or a fucking pencil. This is actually important because you need to know that if these are waterproof. One of the things you don't want to happen is when you finish lining your shit and then have it smear all over the fucking place. This one is used with multi-liners, which is one of the many brands that you can get for multi-liner is Prismacolor. Another popular one is Sakura Micron. Most multi-liners will be waterproof, but just to be safe, you probably want to fucking check it. Look. It doesn't fucking smear. You see that shit? This one right here is just a random fucking pen that I found. See that bullshit? You fucking see that bullshit? That's why you want to test out your pen before you actually align your fucking drawing with something, because all of this shit is gonna look like this if you don't test out your pen beforehand. If you don't want to use pen, you can just use fucking pencil, you know? Good stuff. One of the things you need to understand with pencil is that when you use softer lead, there will be little graphite kind of staying on top of the paper. So you might want to, you know, fucking blow over the paper just beforehand, so the little graphite doesn't start mixing with the watercolor and making it dull. Another fucking thing that artists like to use is like colored lines. Instead of black lines, they would do something like colored lines. Normally they do it in red, because once you paint over it, the color kind of blend in with the watercolor, making it look almost lineless. But the lineless look could be achieved with a really light pencil sketch or something like red lines. I don't fucking have red with me right now, so I'm just fucking using this. But normally this is done with red line. And once you paint over it, you can just make it look like there's no line at all. If you use similar colors, see, look at that. It looks like there's no fucking line at all. It's fucking magic. With this, you also have an option of lining it after, but remember that if you line it beforehand, you'll get like a crisp line. But if you line it after there's already watercolor on the paper, chances are the ink will start bleeding and your lines will be really fucking thick. So just keep that shit in mind if you plan to line your art after you watercolor it. Some paper will let you do that without the wet of the paper affecting the integrity of the line, but otherwise just fucking test it out beforehand with all the paper you got. Alright, time for some fucking watercolor techniques that I use. Just fucking Google and I'm sure you'd find a million other fucking videos about tips for beginners and all these watercolor fucking techniques that you could use on your work, but I'm just gonna show you the shit that I do. So when you want to go from fucking dark to light, first of all, fill your brush with fucking paint first. So when you go from dark to light, have the tip pointed towards the darkest part. We'll kind of do this. Because most of the paint will start here, and as you kind of go down here, it kind of thins out, and that's how you get that good gradient from dark to light. You can see that the thing I do is like this, which is not that good. Normally you want to use as minimal strokes as possible, but my fucking brush is kind of dry. Let's fucking try that again with a little bit more water this time. Oh, please focus. Okay, here we go. There we fucking go. With watercolor, you don't want to do this a lot because if the paper is not up to it, you're gonna get a lot of fucking streaks. You're gonna get all these good ass marks in the middle of your watercolor. You see this one is starting to get those weird marks like splotches and dark spots, but if you have a little bit more water in your brush and then you kind of do that thing smooth like, then you're not gonna get as much of a discrepancy between the light and the dark. When it comes to mixing colors, you can just do the same fucking thing but the other way, you know? Like this. Ooh. If you're going to mix two colors, make sure that you're doing the opposite direction of what you just fucking did, because if you do this, then the darkest spot is gonna be right here in the middle of the fucking paper instead of on the other side. So you want to mix two colors, you do this shit. Yeehaw. Look at my paper, it's already started to fucking flake. That's because this paper's not meant for super duper grading work like this. If you do this a lot, your paper is gonna get fucked up. So, you know, be smooth. Using the technique I just fucking taught you, you can do this with shading. A circle, just kind of keep your brush tip at the edge of the paper. And kind of, you know, and the dark part will stay at the bottom and the lighter part will stay at the top. Well, that looks absolutely fucking terrible, but you know, I'm sure you can do it better than I can. Since this is watercolor, if it gets too fucking dark, you can just add more water in the middle. Just fucking add more water in the middle and then fucking dab it up. There you fucking go. It's lighter now. You can wait to build up more colors, or you can just add on more colors while it is wet. I would recommend doing more colors when it is wet if you want it to spread, but if you want lines that are more defined, you're probably gonna have to wait for this shit to dry first. Just fucking layer on those colors, y'all. Just add it all up. When it comes to adding colors, you don't want to fucking do this. Just, you know, add color to it and try not to manually mix all the colors together. The colors will kind of spread on its own and we'll have like a separate color distinction. Like right here, you see that dark purple? It will automatically spread out to the other parts of the orbs, but if you start mixing the colors, it will get muddy. When you want to fill a block of color, try to do it in as little amount of strokes as possible. Also, have a lot of water in it too, because if you don't, then it's going to start to streak. What I just did is I just kind of painted this shit in when it's dry. Another way you could do it is you can fill it with water first and then add color to it, but that requires your paper to handle water really fucking well. Watch me fail at this. Okay, so you add water first, and then you add color. See that good ass spread? Yeehaw. With this technique, there is a chance that you're gonna get like dark blotches of water or like dark blotches of colors within the water, but it's also a nice effect. You like shit like that, but if you just want a flat color, just fucking color it normally and try to do as little of this shit as possible. For me, the hardest part of fucking watercoloring is waiting for the watercolor to dry before I add on another layer. For muddy colors, the reason you get muddy colors is you're adding water, or you're adding more color to a pre-existing color before it is dried. Fucking wait it out before you add more shit. I told you over here that when you add wet colors on the previously wet object drawing thing, that it will start to spread and you won't have a defined line. But for this one, now that it's dry, I fucking hope you could add another color and it would be pretty sharp. There we fucking go, thank God. You see right there that there's a dark line? Also, you see that there's this fucking dark ass line right here and everything else is fucking light. That's what fucking happens when your colors are not even. You can just fill it in, you know? And nobody will ever know. And now it's fucking sharp. Do you see these little dot things? That's because the paper is not handling water very well. This is like 2 layers of water and the paper is already fucking it up. But if you do this on paper that can actually handle watercolor, that shouldn't be a problem. Look at how fucking dry this brush is. It's not a good thing. It's fucking watercolor, so you know. Fucking add water. I sure love how my fucking video is out of focus 90% of the fucking time. When it comes to watercolor, most palettes will include a white, which is not necessary. If you want a lighter shade of any of these things, just add more water. You can add more white if you want, but most of the time watercolor artists don't use white because it will make these opaque. If you want pink, then just dilute this color. Red, you just dilute the red. Just add a lot of water to red and you should get pink. But if you mix this in with the red, there is a chance that the red will come out muddy. It will be a muddy pink, and when you paint it on something like over a black line, it will cover the line. I thought that I would have fucking more tips for you guys regarding watercolor, but this is the fucking basics. Most of my watercoloring work is basically just this shit and this shit right here. Oh, for this thing, there's another trick that you can add to it. So let's just pretend that this is the fucking shadow right here. You can add another color to it. Just add another fucking color to it while it is still wet. And you get that good gradient shadow. Yeehaw. Yep, I think that's all for the fucking basics noob watercolor. You can do a lot of fucking shit if you just know how to fucking fill in the color without the streaks, doing the gradient, and then waiting for it to dry before you add more shit to it. If you want it to blend, just add more color while it is still wet. If you want the colors to stay separated, then add color after it is dried. And if you want gradient, tilt your brush this way from dark to light, and if you want this side to blend, just do it the other way, like this. Or you know, fucking turn your paper around instead of doing this awkward bullshit. And that's fucking it for now. Thanks for watching, bye.